This video is going to be made for rewatching, at least for me. It means that I'm going to have 80% info, 10% fluff, and the remaining 10% dramatic fluff. This was me attempting to do a tire rotation, and you just got to take off the tires, and these tires were trying to become center lock wheels, and with a 20-inch wrench and my full body weight on the end of it, the bolt was not even budging. Now the next logical leap, you guessed it, is to jump. So I broke it. And at this point, I thought about calling somebody for help. But as a man with honor, I could not. Now I filled up the tires, prepared for a switch with the front having 32, and they're going to the back, and the back's having 33 with the opposite plan. And I needed another thing to tighten it, so I used a small wrench and set off for Walmart. In a pretty risky setup, not quite 65 pounds of torque, but it should get me there. I also got some windshield wiper fluid because I was going to need some of that too. Then, to conquer the trial of the bolts, I prepared with all my might and twisted hard. Then I grabbed a hammer and swung with all of my might. And then I got a jack and I pumped with all my might. And at this point, I thought about calling somebody for help. And with all the sorrow that I had, I did. In that pit of despair came a new idea. A new to me idea. What if I created a legendary cheater bar? One not created from metal, because I don't have that, but from something plucked from the willows of time. Plucked at its peak ripeness. A wooden cheater bar, a 6-foot cheater bar. Even then, it was still a challenge. The bend in the wood was more than even the toughest storms could produce. And the noise the lug nut made when it was fighting me at the bitter end. I had thought I had slipped over it. This wrench was not good enough. But then I twisted again to see if it was free. Hey, I think it's working. And it was. Victory. There were another 5 of these bolts, but since I've conquered one, another was not going to stop me. Now that I had my ability to complete these tire rotations, it was really simple. You gotta lift the car now, and then I marked where I wanted them to go. And an important part of this is when you're rotating tires is make sure they're still good. So I watched a video, and the guy said something about 2/32 of an inch is where it becomes illegal to drive like that in a safety inspection. I don't know if I can trust him. He didn't reduce his fractions. So my manual said a 1/16 of an inch or 1.6 millimeters, which is easy to remember because they both have 16 in them, so you just got to remember 16. But mine were 3.6 millimeters, so I was good. Now for the easy checks. The lights, the windshield wiper fluid, and the coolant. The lights were super easy. I even forgot to do the reverse lights. That's how easy it was. But it was easy with the camera. I could just review the footage. Now, how big do you think the coolant reservoir was? A quart? A half gallon? A gallon? It was a full gallon. I was not expecting to drop that entire container down the spigot. It's really scary when you see the coolant, and you filled it up a couple months ago, and it was good. And now it's at the low line. Are you leaking somewhere? Head gasket failure? You might never know. Could also just be leaking out the bottom of the plastic reservoir. But we'll find that out another day. And to commemorate the massive cheater bar, I wrapped my tie rod and the paracord. That way I'm always prepared. You know, you can't be too prepared. Also, I'm making a note in my journal. That way I can learn from any of the mistakes and hopefully not run into any problems of the same type in the future.